the other piece of this puzzle that I think some of our customers have taken to is they've already got some customized piece of software that they want to be able to provide data through, right? So in addition to the kind of industrial integrations using Ethernet IP or Modbus TCP IP, also making our cloud-based information available via just a standard public API. I mean, that's when we talk about the last 15 years, maybe, the migration of cloud-based technology towards a place where we can expose basically everything in our system to a third party over API, so they can build their own interfaces. That's been kind of an important aspect. We're not going to be everything to everyone, right? But being able to provide our capabilities in ways that it can be ingested elsewhere, I think, is an important piece of that puzzle.
I think that there's always going to be kind of new technologies. I mean, definitely a cloud-to-cloud integration over an API seems to be the most kind of beneficial. We're also working on some MQTT integrations as well. Ethernet IP in the control world is kind of our premier integration with the Rockwell add-on profile. But we also have Modbus TCP IP as well as Modbus RTU, and kind of everything has its place. There's just, depending on, what kind of environment you're running.
For sure. So, anything else you want to touch on here on this guy? Do we want to jump?
Let's see. So I talked a little bit about it, but to talk about the digital transformation, let's talk about the fact that up until kind of Andy's, up until Andy coming in house, we did not, like I said, we didn't really run software. And so learning how to develop software is an entirely different undertaking than designing a mechanical device, right. Okay? And then let's say you're designing a mechanical device, and then you're also designing software, and then you have a digitally enabled product. It's actually kind of like the worst of both worlds, because it's actually the most complex, because then you're talking an entire full stack where you've got purpose-built firmware, you've got PCB design, you're choosing what type of chips you want to be able to use, what kind of wireless protocols, and this whole thing needs to work seamlessly from both the mechanical package all the way through upwards, to the stack. I can't stress how difficult it was to come in, especially as a non-technical CEO. I sometimes I play engineer at work, but I'm not a developer or a coder. Though with the new ChatGPT interfaces, I can become a little bit of a cyborg.
You're an expert.
I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night. But product is really hard. And if I was going to give some advice to anyone, people are going to be your most important asset in that space, and oftentimes you're not going to get it right on the first go. And so fortunately, I had a partner who knew this world, but we definitely struggled through getting the right talent in-house, being able to understand exactly how to run a development project with that complexity, how to be able to run a test bed to make sure that we're testing through all the configuration settings, understanding how to test wireless reliability. I mean, all of these things are capabilities that did not exist at Grace. I think now we've been able to really develop a more robust ecosystem because of all those learnings. And I anticipate that at Grace, we won't just have an IIoT product line. I think all of our products are going to have a digitally enabled component. Yeah. And I think that's not just the future for Grace, but I think that's the future for the rest of the industry. I mean, I think, even fuses are going to have some digital communication interface at some point. And probably some already do, right? But there's going to be a constant, transducers are going to be everywhere. Embedded computing is going to be everywhere. And I think that this is par for the course. And so start developing those chops and start developing your people now in order to, prepare you for the future.
Yeah. So Drew jumped the gun a little bit. We're going to talk about some of our future things in 1 minute, but let's just hone in on kind of what we did over the last few years.
I do have a couple questions here.
Oh, good.
So there was a question from Brandon regarding kind of perceiving GraceSense feeding each other. Yes, they do. We're sister companies, and Perceive is able to get in some grant work that allows us to kind of come in and feed Grace with some new innovative technology. Brett Lincoln is asking about our thoughts on IO-Link and integration into IO-Link capable devices. Andy, thoughts on IO-Link?
Yeah, so we've circled the IO-Link wagon quite a bit over the last couple of years as it's become a protocol that people are using. I mean, I think in our case, the big thing that has kind of kept us away from having a native IO-Link interface is that typical IO-Link applications are control focused. So they're delivering data at a very high rate reliably, right? And that's, in our case, a lot of times
and power intensively.
Yeah, it requires a lot of power, right? So we've got battery powered wireless nodes that are really doing a vibration assessment. If we're talking about our vibration technologies, once an hour. And those data trends don't really need to be. They don't require a 10 millisecond refresh rate. So there's actually some technical reasons why we haven't. It's just like IO-Link doesn't support the quantity of data that we send on as infrequent a basis as we send it. So there's kind of it hasn't been the best protocol for us to engage with. Now that said, I'm pretty sure you can get an Ethernet IP to IO-Link kind of converter situation up and running, or any one of our other situations. But yeah, we don't have a direct IO-Link offering.
Yeah, and from I'm good friends with Reed Shook, and he's got a company in the space called Cortigo, and they're doing some really interesting stuff on wireless IO-Link. Hey, it's a big world out there. If you guys haven't checked them out, go and check out Cortigo. It's been a good kind of a good thing, and maybe at some point we'll be able to find the right application that needs that level of reliability and control mechanisms. But at this point we haven't been able to quite the matrix hasn't quite worked out yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Blame the matrix. Yeah, perfect. So this actually feeds us into this quick topic I just wanted to make sure we discussed. One of the things that we really spent kind of that post-COVID era building out was we saw a lot of folks offering vibration technologies that were very data centric, right? I'm going to collect a bunch of data and using either AI techniques, machine learning or whatnot, or just data-centric approaches to anomaly detection. We're going to provide information surrounding defects. When we kind of polled our customer base, we found that a lot of folks wanted to be able to ingest data in a very similar way that they had from vibration analysts over the years, right? So you typically have a vibration analyst come into your facility. They're going around once a month, once a quarter, and they're providing a detailed report at each asset that they're going around and monitoring on their routes, right? And so we spent quite a bit of time building out an interface that mimicked what a vibration analyst would do, and we try to provide data in a very similar way to those vibration analysts. So it allows us at that level to build on kind of ISO standard vibration levels to give indications to our customer base that something's going on. Now, in the background, as Drew said, we've been doing a lot of data-driven work, but we did find that this interface that allowed for I think an easier level of understanding to folks who are used to seeing that kind of report paid dividends within the company.
And the UI really, it actually looks like the piece of machinery that you're monitoring. And so understanding, hey, okay, here's a compressor. We're putting a node here, and here. There's 4 nodes on this piece of machinery that's doing the monitoring. And then the interplay between these and allows us to kind of do a set of rules and more of a physics-based approach.
Yeah, so that heuristic-based kind of ecosystem was really designed around our thought that whatever type of technology we bring to bear in this IoT world, this predictive maintenance world, needs to be trustworthy, right? And one of these grants that Drew's talking about that we brought in through Perceive has really focused on that trustworthy piece by providing explainable artificial intelligence, and that's something that's kind of a future concept. I'm probably jumping ahead now. Yeah, that's actually the last bullet. So I'll hold that for the next couple of minutes.
Let's talk about trustworthiness just for a minute and why that's important.
Okay. Yeah.
I was talking with one of our customers, and they said, basically, if you get it wrong 3 times, everyone's going to ignore it. And so we think that nuisance alarming is a significant problem in the IoT space. There's also, though, this issue of I'm just not trusting the system, and so we want to make sure that we're alarming at the right times, and we're not over alarming, and we're also not under alarming. Right? There's this sweet spot. That's been really important to try to narrow in on. And then we've been able to send out on some of our early deployments, we've been able to go ahead and we're starting to collect data, and we notice that there's problems on some of the machinery, right? And they're like, no, there's no problems on that machinery. And so they weren't really initially trusting the data. One of our partners in the space, Dan Ombre, Full Spectrum Diagnostics, we sent him out to a facility down in Florida, and he was able to kind of do an entire kind of assessment. And sure enough, what was the failure?
Some mechanical issue.
Yeah, some mechanical issue that they were completely unaware of, and they just didn't believe was happening because the machine seemed to be running okay.
Yep.
Right, and it would be running okay for a while, and so then after that, they took our data a lot more seriously. So it is important to really build that trustworthiness with your, kind of with your customers, but and also just for any systems that you're deploying.